Welcome to the birds and other wildlife of northern Peru. This video constitutes the final installment in this three-part series, and we begin by seeing in real time, that is, not slowed down, what is among wildlife enthusiasts probably the most sought after of all the 366 total hummingbird species currently described and recognized. This is a male example of the Marvelous Spatuletail, whose scientific name is Lowland mirabilis. Indeed, the Marvelous Spatuletail is a spectacularly rare and endangered hummingbird endemic exclusively to the Rio Utcubamba Valley in the Andes of northern Peru. And here in this map of Peru, situated as it is in the west-central region of the South American continent, we see in green the Rio Utcubamba Valley, a relatively narrow and limited land area where most Marvelous Spatuletails reside. Known for its unique iridescent tail and dynamic courtship displays, the Marvelous Spatuletail is regarded as one of the most spectacular birds in the world. The male features an outrageous four-feathered tail. The two outer feathers are elongated into long, wire-like shafts, ending in distinct violet-blue discs or spatules. During mating, the male hovers and swings his spatules side to side like pendulums or crosses them in front of his body to impress the female. We can note that both male and female Marvelous Spatuletails are shiny shades of emerald, white, and bronze. The male also sports a vibrant blue crown, an iridescent turquoise gorget or throat, and a bold black stripe running down the center of his white underparts. Females are similar iridescent green to bronze above and white below, but lack the crest, gorget, and black midline stripe. While females lack the exaggerated rackets of the males, their elongated tail feathers are almost the length of her body, and end with modest spatules of the same violet blue as the males. Male Marvelous Spatuletails perform their energetic display at communal display areas called leks, where females visit to compare performers and select a mate. Notably, other hummingbird species, such as the snowcap, use this type of mating system as well. It is also characteristic of pheasants, such as the greater sage grouse and lesser prairie chicken. First described in 1835, the Marvelous Spatuletail is the sole member of its genus, Lowland. Its distinctive tail and dramatic courtship dance have inspired community pride and conservation awareness. Local festivals, school performances, and dances, which are sometimes referred to as Danza del Colibri Cola de Espatula, celebrate the bird while teaching students and visitors about the importance of protecting its habitat. Here we see a mature Marvelous Spatuletail male roosting at a lek or community display area. Note how effectively he can move these spatules at the end of his long tail feathers to show off to other members of his species. And with the adult male Marvelous Spatuletail having flown away, we now see two other members of this species showing off to one another. But these are clearly not adult males. Are they females? No. Look at the blue gorget on the throat. This is clearly a male. Well, why does it have such short tail feathers? It is a juvenile Marvelous Spatuletail male, whose tail feathers have not yet fully developed. In fact, both of these last two Marvelous Spatuletail examples that we've just seen are juvenile males, recognizable by their shorter tails. Now we see the mature male interacting with both of these juvenile males. But why would two juvenile males be attracted to an adult male Marvelous Spatuletail? Researchers who have studied this have concluded that the younger males learn from the adult male Marvelous Spatuletail how to use their tail feathers so as to become effective at displaying to females. So in this sense, the adult male Marvelous Spatuletail is providing a public service to the young males, and we can trust that these young males will learn from the master so that they can become effective at attracting females and passing on their genes to the next generation. Turning our attention now to conservation concerns for the Marvelous Spatuletail, we can note that this species is threatened by habitat destruction caused by burning for agriculture and illegal woodcutting. On this point, fires used to clear land can damage the montane forest and shrub habitats that this hummingbird species depends on for foraging and nesting. Because these Andean cloud forest ecosystems are not naturally fire adapted, burned vegetation often recovers slowly and may not regenerate fully without human intervention, leaving degraded habitat for years. In some communities, fires are also intentionally set due to the belief that burning vegetation can help bring rain, which can further increase the risk of uncontrolled fires and habitat loss in the region. Much of the forest within the Marvelous Spatuletail's range has been destroyed since 1978, largely due to slash-and-burn agricultural practices and unsustainable logging for firewood. However, the extent of the negative impact upon the Marvelous Spatuletail as a result of these environmentally destructive human practices may be somewhat buffered by the fact that this species often utilizes forest edges. Therefore, the wooded areas on steep slopes may protect it to some extent from the immediate impacts of the deforestation practices. Little is known about the Marvelous Spatuletail's breeding phenology. Its breeding season appears to be between December and February, but may extend from October to May. As mentioned earlier, males gather at leks and perform an aerial display to attract females. The male Marvelous Spatuletail gives a repeated high-pitched buzzy metallic note, zzz, zzz, during its aerial display. Its calls include an upslurred, high-pitched sweet note, swee, and a more strident zick. There are estimated to be fewer than 1,000 mature individual Marvelous Spatuletails left in the wild. Organizations such as BirdLife International Data Zone and the Kern Audubon Society place the exact adult breeding population somewhere between 250 and 999 individuals. The male Marvelous Spatuletail is 5.9 to 6.7 inches or 15 to 17 centimeters long, including its 4.3 to 5.1 inch or 11 to 13 centimeter tail. Females are 3.5 to 3.9 inches or 9 to 10 centimeters long with a 2.0 to 2.8 inch or 5 to 7 centimeter tail. The male's signature feature is, of course, as we've noted already, the two outer tail feathers with the bare shafts that cross each other and end in the large purplish-black rackets or spatules. Both sexes have a slightly decurved black bill and a white spot behind the eye. As noted earlier, the Marvelous Spatuletail is found only in a small area in the Andes of northern Peru. Most records are from the valley of the Utcubamba River in the Amazonas department, with a few further east in the department of San Martin. It inhabits the edges of mature forest, secondary forest, and montane scrublands. It is partial to thickets of thorny rubus and alder. In elevation, it ranges between 2,100 and 2,900 meters, or 6,900 to 9,500 feet, though there are unconfirmed reports at both higher and lower elevation. The sparkling Violetear is one of the most widely distributed species of hummingbirds in the Andes, as it occurs from northern Venezuela south to northeastern Argentina. It also has an outpost on the tepuis of southern Venezuela and adjacent northern Brazil. In common with other species of Violetear, it is not a bird of deep forest. Instead, it is found at forest edge and open areas with scattered shrubs. It also adapts to non-native flowering trees, such as eucalyptus. Sparkling Violetears also tend to occur at higher elevations than does the lesser Violetear. In at least some parts of its range, however, the sparkling Violetear is an elevational migrant, and so is found over a very broad elevational zone. Notably, sparkling Violetears display an extreme level of nighttime torpor to conserve energy during cold temperatures at high elevation, having body temperatures as low as 46 degrees Fahrenheit or 8 degrees Celsius during night compared to daytime body temperatures of 96 degrees Fahrenheit or 36 degrees Celsius. The lesser Violetear is locally common in montane regions of southern Central America and of South America, from Costa Rica south to northern Argentina and east to coastal mountains of northern Venezuela. All species of Violetears, including the lesser, have a patch of elongated violet feathers on the sides of the head. The white-bellied hummingbird is a small, straight-billed hummingbird that has shining light green upper parts and white underparts, with green spotting on the throat, sides, and flanks. This species resembles members of the genus Leucippus in general appearance and was, until recently, placed in that genus. A bird with diverse tastes, it visits all kinds of flowers at all heights in the forest strata, and also eats many insects. The nest is a soft, thickly lined cup built in a large shrub or small tree. The 2 eggs are incubated for 14 to 15 days. The chicks are fed in the nest by just the female for 19 to 22 days, and care continues for several days after fledging. In the far south of the range, there is some post-breeding dispersal. The species' population size and trend are unknown at present. The habitat of the white-bellied hummingbird is a wide range of mainly dry but well-vegetated habitats, including forest ridges, secondary growth, plantations, scrub, cerrado, and gardens. It lives from 1,500 to 9,200 feet, or 450 to 2,800 meters. The little wood star is a rare hummingbird that is restricted to southwestern Ecuador and northwestern Peru. Wood stars, in general, are small hummingbirds. The little wood star is a small wood star, but is not safely distinguishable in the field by size alone. The gorget of the male is pinkish purple. The retroces on the male also are very narrow, and most of them are short as well, although the next to central pair is long. Despite being a member of one of the most striking groups of hummingbirds, the genus Coelogina, which includes the incas and starfrontlets, the bronzy inca is one of the drabbest of hummingbirds. Polytypic, the 6 subspecies all share the same general appearance, being generally brownish and dull green. The bronzy inca is distributed in humid montane forest from the northern Andes in Venezuela south to southeast Bolivia. The evolutionary pathway that produced its plumage raises an interesting question. What different evolutionary pressures were responsible for the development of the strikingly beautiful plumages in most other species of Coelogina and for the dull plumage of the bronzy inca? The sword-billed hummingbird is a charismatic species from Andean, South America. It is found from Venezuela and Colombia in the north to Bolivia in the south. The species belongs to a monotypic genus, Ensiphera, and is quite different from all other hummingbirds. Metallic green and bronzed overall, with a black bill that is slightly upcurved and longer than the body length. This is the only bird species with a bill length that exceeds the body length. When seen perched, the species usually holds its bill quite upright, presumably because of balance issues stemming from this long and relatively heavy structure. As can be seen here, the long bill of the sword-billed hummingbird enables it to drink nectar from flowers with long corollas and has co-evolved with the species Passiflora mixta. While most hummingbirds preen using their bills, the sword-billed hummingbird uses its feet to scratch and preen due to its bill being so long. The sword-billed hummingbird is a trapline feeder and feeds on nectar, especially, as we just mentioned, from Passiflora mixta and other passion flowers. It also hawks for insects. It breeds from February to March and builds cup nests using moss. The sword-billed hummingbird is listed as being of least concern by the International Union of Conservation of Nature, but it is threatened by climate change and deforestation. The sword-billed hummingbird is among the largest species of hummingbirds. Adults are 5.1 to 5.5 inches or 13 to 14 centimeters long, excluding the bill. Sword-billed hummingbirds weigh 0 to 15 grams, or 0.35 to 0.53 ounces, with males being slightly larger on average than females. Of course, the most distinctive feature of the sword-billed hummingbird is the enormous bill, which is 3.1 to 4.7 inches, or 8 to 12 centimeters long. The bill is the largest of any hummingbird and the largest with respect to body length for any bird species. As we have already noted, the sword-billed hummingbird is a specialist feeder, feeding mainly on the nectar of flowers with long corollas, including Brugsmania sanguinea, which is seen here. Besides feeding on nectar, the sword-billed hummingbird also hawks for insects by keeping its bill open. Breeding in sword-billed hummingbirds occurs from February to March. Nests are cup-shaped. They are made of moss and are usually hung among root fibers high above the ground. Rainbow star frontlets often engage in aerial chases above the forest canopy, making a high-pitched chatter as they go after one another. When in normal flight, they vocalize with sharp zips. The glittering rainbow forehead of male can vary considerably in color, making the extensive chestnut of both sexes, long bill, and large size more diagnostic. Notable color variations also exist among the 6 subspecies. These star frontlets frequent both humid and dry cloud forests, gardens, and scrubby arenas, often foraging between 2 and 4 meters off the ground. Although considered locally common, these hummingbirds are potentially vulnerable because of their restricted range in middle-upper elevations from southern Ecuador to northern Peru. The golden grosbeak is usually a relatively abundant inhabitant of semi-open habitats, including forest borders, cultivated areas with trees, and scrub. It occurs up to 3,000 meters or 10,000 feet elevation. The body averages 8.3 inches or 21 centimeters in length. The bill is large and conical in shape, typical of most species in the family. The golden grosbeak is sexually dimorphic in plumage. Males, such as the individual seen here, are bright yellow with a black wing and back. Compared to other owl species, Koepcke's screech owl is not especially well studied. Like other screech owls, it is nocturnal and therefore active at night. It is described as a vocal species that is often seen in pairs. Like most owls, this owl has a facial disc. The facial disc is composed of many feathers around the head and helps direct sound to the ears. Unfortunately, not very much is known about the diet of this little owl. It is known that it feeds on insects and also likely eats some small vertebrates as well. With regard to reproduction, researchers know that this species generally breeds between February and March, and while it isn't known for sure, it is likely that this small owl nests in tree cavities. The only nests known to scientists contain 2 nestlings. The gray-breasted mountain toucan is a charismatic species of high Andean forests in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. The species has a blackish head with a large yellow-red bill, brownish-green back with a yellow rump, blue-gray breast, and red vent. It is usually found at higher elevation than the similar black-billed mountain toucan. Common sounds of the species include ascending nasal honks, sharp kip calls, and bill rattling. It measures 16 to 19 inches, that is, 41 to 48 centimeters in length, and weighs 244 to 370 grams, or 8.6 to 13 ounces. It forages from near the ground to up in the forest canopy, singly, in pairs, or in small groups that might be extended families. The gray-breasted mountain toucan's breeding season spans from December to February in Colombia and from June or July to November in Ecuador and Peru. Nothing else is known about its breeding biology. The amethyst-throated sun angel is a dazzling high Andean hummingbird found in the South American countries of Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador. It is highly prized by bird watchers for its striking plumage and bold white or buff-colored neck crescent. This species grows to about 4 inches or 10 centimeters in length. They are commonly seen foraging at the edges of humid forests or clearings. Depending on the region, they will eagerly visit local bird feeders and flowering plants. A small greenish hummingbird with a very short bill, the rufous-capped thornbill, can be found on the eastern slopes in the Andes in Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador. Males are readily recognizable with their bright rufous crown and narrow iridescent green gorget. And here, displacing the rufous-capped thornbill, is the mountain avocetbill. This is a forest hummingbird from the Andes of Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. The species is rare and local in upper elevation forests and dense roadside vegetation. Mountain avocetbill has a short black bill that is sharply upturned at the tip, with copper crown, green upper parts, and dull streaked gray underparts with blackish flight feathers. Mountain avocetbill usually is seen feeding alone at small tubular flowers in low dense vegetation, but otherwise it is very poorly known. The shining sunbeam is a large, dark brown hummingbird with a lilac gold iridescent lower back and rump. Like other sunbeams, it has a proportionally short bill for a hummingbird. Found at high altitudes, the shining sunbeam inhabits semi-arid montane ridges and cloud forests. Most populations are altitudinal migrants, descending seasonally to lower elevations. The shining sunbeam forages mainly on nectar, but will also eat arthropods. Males have been known to aggressively defend feeding territories from other hummingbirds. There are currently 2 described subspecies of the shining sunbeam. Neither sex has any white in the plumage, which helps distinguish the shining sunbeam from other species in the genus Elgiactus. The variable hawk is most often seen soaring on warm thermals, but may be seen on almost any type of raised perch. They prey on almost any small to medium-sized animals that can be caught, but smallish mammals comprise more than 90% of the prey in some studies. Breeding occurs during various seasons. They build large stick nests on any elevated structure available, and sometimes breed cooperatively. 1 to 3 eggs are laid. The incubation period is 26 to 36 days. The nestlings fledge anywhere from 40 to 74 days. The black metaltail is a hummingbird that lives at high elevations in the Peruvian Andes. It is able to lower its nighttime body temperature to an astounding 3.3 degrees Celsius, or 38 degrees Fahrenheit, the lowest body temperature ever recorded in any bird. Scientists discovered this new bird superlative when monitoring the body temperature of hummingbirds spending the night at near freezing temperatures 10,000 feet up on a tropical mountain. Based upon their observations, the researchers concluded that this diminutive hummer might have the capacity to lower its internal temperature even more, writing that the metaltail, quote, showed no evidence of maintaining a set point body temperature at even the lowest air temperature encountered, unquote. Don't let its plain-sounding name fool you. The gray-bellied comet is dazzling. In the right light, the upper sides of this large hummingbird shimmer with greens, blues, and bronzy oranges. Males have a violet blue throat or gorget, and both sexes have long tails, similar to those of the swallow-tailed hummingbird and violet-tailed sylph. The gray-bellied comet's stronghold is Peru's Chonta Valley, an area of arid mountain slopes and canyons only a few miles from the rapidly growing city of Cajamarca. The giant hummingbird is a whopping 8 times the size of a ruby-throated hummingbird, about the same length as a bluebird, albeit thinner and lighter. Its breeding range is giant as well, stretching thousands of miles along western South America. For centuries, scientists have known that some giant hummingbirds are migratory and some aren't. Giant hummingbirds in the northern Andes of Peru and Ecuador, which is what we see here, are year-round residents. But the giant hummingbirds that breed in central Chile, in the southern part of the bird's range, vanish during their non-breeding season. An unsolved mystery, quote-unquote, is how the Atlas of the Breeding Birds of Chile 2011-2016 describes where these Chilean giant hummingbirds go after their breeding season ends. New findings revealed the astonishing discovery that these southern breeding giant hummingbirds travel as far as any hummingbird on Earth, up to 5,200 miles round trip, or about 8,000 kilometers. And these lowland breeders cover these immense distances while ascending some of the tallest mountains in South America, up to 13,000 feet, or about 3,600 meters. The burrowing owl, locally known as choco in Peru, is a small, long-legged raptor that nests in the ground. In Peru, these diurnal birds are most commonly found in arid coastal lowlands, but they also inhabit high-altitude Andean grasslands and agricultural areas. They stand about 9 to 10 inches, or about 22 to 24 centimeters tall, have bright yellow eyes, distinct white eyebrows, and sandy brown, heavily spotted plumage. They generally do not dig their own burrows. Instead, they repurpose abandoned tunnels made by small mammals, or, in the highly arid environments of Peru's coastal deserts, dig their own in sandy biocrusts. During the nesting season, burrowing owls will collect a wide variety of materials to line their nest, some of which are left around the entrance to the burrow. The most common material is mammal dung, usually from cattle. At one time, it was thought that the cattle dung helped to mask the scent of the juvenile owls, but researchers now believe the dung helps to control the microclimate inside the burrow and to attract insects, which the owls may eat. Though based upon its name, one might conclude that the Peruvian pygmy owl lives only in Peru. This owl is found in a few countries within South America. For example, it occurs in portions of the Andes from southwestern Ecuador into Peru and northern Chile. It makes its home in a few different types of habitats, including deciduous and riparian forests, dry lowland scrub areas, and montane scrub. It can also be found in agricultural fields, gardens, and even in open areas within urban sites. Little is known about this owl's diet. Almost nothing is known about their nesting habitats. It is likely that its breeding biology is similar to that of the ferruginous pygmy owl. If that's the case, it most likely nests in tree cavities, or perhaps in old nests built by other bird species. The lineated woodpecker is a large crested woodpecker, widespread in forested habitats in the neotropics. It is black overall with a brilliant red crest, white barring on the underparts, and a white line extending down the neck. Males have red on the cheek while females do not. The lineated woodpecker communicates through vocalizations, drumming, and rapping, especially during territory defense. The vocalizations are distinctive, and the sustained, laughing call is a common sound in many areas. It often occurs in pairs that feed on wood-boring arthropods by hammering deep into the tree trunks. Lineated woodpeckers also include fruit and seeds in their diet. They lay clutches of 2 to 4 eggs in cavity nests, which are excavated in dead trees by both adults. Lineated woodpecker is not globally threatened. The colored antshrike primarily occurs in the Tumbesian region of western Ecuador and northwestern Peru, and approaches the range of the Marañón antshrike, with which it was formerly considered conspecific. This antshrike principally, but not exclusively, inhabits the understory of tropical deciduous woodlands, a highly threatened habitat type where it usually is found alone, in pairs, or sometimes following mixed species foraging flocks. Pacific parrotlets are little parrots and are residents of the Pacific coast of Ecuador and northwestern Peru. Predominantly glaucous green, Pacific parrotlets have a bluish postocular stripe, which merges with a blue-gray hindcrown, nape and neck, and also have dark blue on the lower back, rump, and on the large patches of its wings. The habitat preferred by the Pacific parrotlet is arid lowland scrub and semi-open tropical deciduous woodland. These birds feed on berries, cactus, and tamarindus fruits. Pacific parrotlets are not picky in their choice of nest locations and will nest anywhere from holes in trees and fence posts to the abandoned nests of pale-legged orneros and neckless spinetails. The Pacific parrotlet is abundant across its range and is tolerant of moderate levels of human disturbance. Pacific parrotlets are very protective of their eggs and chicks. Each clutch has 4 to 6 white eggs, which are incubated for an average of 18 days. Feared extinct for nearly a century until its dramatic rediscovery in 1977, the white-winged guan has been the subject of an intensive captive breeding and conservation campaign. This species is endemic to the foothills of the Tumbesian region in northwestern Peru, where it occurs in dry deciduous forest on slopes and in ravines. This is a distinctive member of the genus Penelope that has relatively dark plumage that contrasts with the namesake white primary patches. It feeds primarily on fruits, but takes a variety of foods on occasion. Hunting and habitat destruction continue to threaten this species, but conservation efforts have made some headway in stabilizing its population. The white-winged guan is territorial, and mated pairs stay together over successive years. Their breeding season spans from November to May, a period which overlaps the resource-abundant rainy season. They construct a nest of twigs and leaves in vine-covered trees, typically about 2.5 meters or 8 feet above the ground. The clutch size can be from 1 to 3 eggs, but 2 is the usual number. Adult male saffron finches are brilliant yellow songbirds with glowing orange highlights on the head. Females in northern South America are more subdued in color, while immature birds and females in southern South America are streaky brown with limited yellow highlights. This member of the tanager family is native to South America and has been introduced to the Hawaiian Islands, the Caribbean, and other areas. Saffron finches are small, social birds that forage conspicuously on the ground in yards, city parks, and other open habitats. White-tipped dove is the most widespread dove in the Americas. It is an unobtrusive bird, typically found on the ground in woodlands. In the United States, it occurs only in southernmost Texas, where it frequents woodlands along the lower Rio Grande Valley. Unlike many other doves, it does not flock, instead foraging singly or in pairs, walking along on the ground or low vegetation in search of seeds and berries. Their low cooing, like the sound of blowing on a bottle, is often heard before they are seen. Unlike others in the Amazilia genus, the Amazilia hummingbird frequents open, scrubby, arid areas with thorn forests and desert habitat. Amazilia hummingbirds are also spotted in towns, gardens, and parks, and are occasionally found in forests, particularly along the Pacific. These medium-sized hummingbirds breed throughout the year, but may migrate altitudinally at times. The throat color varies by subspecies, but is some shade of glittering green. The tail is rufous and green. The Amazilia hummingbird breeds at any month of the year. Females build a cup nest of soft plant fibers bound with cobweb and sometimes with lichen on the outside. It generally places it on top of a flat branch and sometimes at the end of a branch, about 1 to 2.5 meters or 3 to 8 feet above the ground. The female incubates the clutch of 2 eggs for 16 to 18 days, and fledging occurs 17 to 25 days after the eggs hatch. Short-tailed woodstars are very small hummingbirds with incredibly short tails. This woodstar inhabits desert and coastal scrub areas in the Tembezian region of southwestern Ecuador and northwestern Peru. These hummingbirds forage low near the ground, searching for nectar at flowering plants and also capturing some insects. The male short-tailed woodstar has a flight display during which it gives a melodious series of high-pitched TTT and SWEE notes. Short-tailed woodstar is generally resident, but some birds seem to leave the coastal areas during the wet season. The Thumb's hummingbird is a plain, non-iridescent species native to the arid scrublands and dry forest edges of northwestern Peru and southwestern Ecuador. Both sexes are dull green above, grayish-white below, and feature a distinctive white spot behind the eye. This species is typically found at elevations below 1,000 meters, or 3,300 feet, in arid scrubland and deciduous forest edges. Though it does forage for small insects, it primarily feeds on nectar from dry-tolerant plants such as cacti. The white-tailed jay is a range-restricted corvid of the Pacific coast of South America. Found only in western Ecuador and northwestern Peru, it is the only jay in its range. The species is blue on the back and wings, white below and on the nape, with a thick black bridle, yellow irides, and white tail tip with white outer rectrices on an otherwise blue tail. Conspicuous as it forages in the open, it is also rather vocal, often giving a repetitive hollow call. White-tailed jays prefer dry woodland or desert scrub below 1,200 meters, or about 4,000 feet in elevation. The white-browed gnatcatcher is an energetic, widespread songbird of northern neotropics, ranging from eastern Mexico to northwestern Peru. Previously, it was grouped with the now exclusively South American tropical gnatcatcher, which lacks the white eyebrow and has subtly different songs. Resident in a wide variety of subtropical and tropical forest types below 1,200 meters, or 4,000 feet, this bird can typically be found in constant motion, making short hops or flights from branch to leaf to branch while searching for insects, cocking its tail up and making soft, whining calls. And though I could not ID what species of tarantula this was, they are nonetheless very enjoyable animals to see. They are typically seen at night when they come out of their underground burrows and forage for arthropods and other invertebrate organisms. As is the case with other New World tarantula species, I rather suspect that this species, whatever it may be, does not have a medically significant bite, and, unless one is allergic, is not therefore dangerous to humans. The western curly-tailed lizard is a small terrestrial reptile native to the arid scrublands and coastal areas of northwestern Peru. It is highly recognized for its active foraging behavior and distinctive tail, which it curls upward when alert, running, or basking in the sun. They have keeled or ridged scales, typically feature cryptic patterns to blend into rocks and dry soil, and boast a tail that curls tightly in a spiral. As opportunistic omnivores, they primarily feed on insects, arachnids, flowers, and even leaves. Active during the day, and therefore diurnal, they are patient but quick predators. They use a sit-and-wait approach to ambush passing prey. Frost's lava lizard is a small, striking reptile endemic to the coastal desert and rocky outcrops of Peru. Named in honor of American herpetologist Darrell R. Frost, it is an active, quick-moving species that belongs to the Pacific iguana family. And here is a gecko, the species of which could not be determined. This was seen in the Pacific coastal desert area of Peru. Notably, many gecko species, and there's over 2,000 in the entire world, have specialized microscopic structures on their toes called setae. These allow them to scale smooth, vertical surfaces and even walk upside down on glass. Baird's flycatcher is a striking, large tyrant flycatcher native to the arid woodlands and scrublands of northwestern Peru and western Ecuador. It is easily identified by its black face mask, bold white eyebrows, stout black bill, chestnut rufous wings and tail, and dingy yellow belly. The Cinereus finch is a large terrestrial songbird of northwestern Peru. It inhabits desert scrub on coastal plains below 300 meters, or below 1,000 feet. This finch-like tanager is medium gray above and pale gray below, with a blackish area around the base of its thick yellow bill and pale legs. The Cinereous finch is typically solitary, terrestrial, and highly distinctive, as it is the only gray finch with a bright yellow bill in its unusual habitat. The Peruvian meadowlark is a classic South American meadowlark with red breast and lacking the black V of the breast of northern meadowlarks. It is restricted to arid grasslands and agricultural regions of the desert zone west of the Andes between Ecuador and northernmost Chile. Due to habitat conversion, it is now spreading northward into southernmost Colombia. It is a smaller and a shorter-tailed species than the long-tailed meadowlark of the south, but larger than and not nearly as blackish as the red-breasted blackbird. The barred becard is a distinctive little becard of Andean forests. The yellow wash to the cheeks recalls the larger green-backed becard, but P. versicolor is the only becard with narrow black barring below. The male is mostly black above, while the female has a distinctive combination of yellow underparts, a gray cap, a green back, and chestnut wings. This species is fairly active, and pairs often join mixed-species canopy flocks. The rising, whistled song is delivered intermittently throughout the day. The long-tailed mockingbird is largely restricted to the Pacific coast of South America, where it is found from western Ecuador south to western Peru. This species has also been reported, perhaps erroneously, from northernmost Chile. There is also a somewhat anomalous population in the upper Marañón Valley of northwest Peru, although it differs little in plumage from other populations. This species forms a superspecies with another long-tailed mockingbird further south, the Chilean mockingbird. Despite being only a paler version of its former conspecific, the pale-legged ornero, the Pacific ornero is a distinctive bird, being the only member of the genus Furnarius within its comparatively limited range, and is characterized by its pale, usually pinkish legs, strong white supercilia, bold white throat, sometimes coupled with clean white underparts, and usually dark crown, which features in combination will usually clinch the species identification. The spectacled bear is the only species of bear in South America and one of the most emblematic mammals of the tropical Andes. Spectacled bears are robust, with a short and muscular neck, short but strong legs. As with all bears, spectacled bears walk on the soles of their feet and have longer front than rear legs, making them excellent climbers. The spectacled bear's fur is usually black, although it can have dark red-brown tones on the upper parts. Spectacled bears sometimes have white to pale yellow markings around the muzzle, on the neck, and the chest. These markings may also be present around the eyes, which is the reason for its common name. Spectacled bears can reach a standing height, that is, standing on the hind legs, of 1.5 to 2 meters. That's about 4.5 to 6.5 feet. The weight is 140 to 175 kilograms, or between 3 and 400 pounds. Males are up to 50% larger than females. This species is generally diurnal, shy, peaceful, and elusive, avoiding contact with humans. They are usually solitary, but may occasionally be found in relatively high concentrations when favorite food items are abundant. The individuals seen here were rescues kept in a special facility within a desert lodge region of northwestern Peru. Cubs are born with their eyes shut and weigh about 300 grams, or about 0.7 pounds. The eyes are opened after the first month. Cubs are black in color and already show the white or yellowish spectacle markings. The young grow fairly quickly, and at 180 days they already weigh about 10 kilograms or 22 pounds. Cubs remain with the mother for at least 1 year after birth. Spectacled bears are estimated to live for just over 20 years. Pairs are formed only for reproduction, which occurs between March and October. Spectacled bears breed for the first time when they are between 4 and 7 years old. The gestation period oscillates between 160 and 255 days, and a litter contains between 1 and 3 cubs. Spectacled bears generally give birth from September to February. Spectacled bears have an omnivorous diet, although they are fairly specialized in fruit and different parts of several plants. They feed high up in trees as well as on plants growing on the ground. When ripe fruit is not available, these bears live off fibrous parts of plants, such as bromeliad hearts, soft parts of palms, orchid bulbs, and even tree bark. In addition, they eat insects, small rodents, and birds. Spectacled bear is found from Venezuela to northern Argentina, including Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. According to some researchers, the greatest number of bears is to be found on the borders between Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. Recent estimated population sizes for most areas are small, with a total estimate for the northern Andes, excluding most of Peru, Bolivia, and northern Argentina, comprised anywhere between 6,000 and 10,000 individuals. The main threats to spectacled bears throughout the region are hunting and habitat loss and environmental degradation. Identified first in the Secura Desert, the Securan fox, also called the Peruvian desert fox, exists in arid environments in southwestern Ecuador and western Peru. Despite its name, the species is a quote-unquote false fox, or zorro. Being a zorro means the Securan fox is more closely related to dogs and wolves than to true foxes. The Securan fox is highly adaptable, as we can see here. Indeed, there were a number of them that were very well adjusted to this lodge and were only too happy to come up to your table to look for a handout. I have to say, it was very endearing. Other than the fact that the young are born in October, little is known about their social life or breeding habits. Like all foxes, they are intelligent animals and can confuse their predators by doubling back on the tracks they make with their paws. Though habitat loss and degradation are considered the biggest factors in this fox's decline, the species is also threatened by hunting.
Wild too.